All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the installation. We have the Taskwarrior website over here, and if we head over to downloads, we scroll down just a little bit, we see distributions, and you're free to pick whatever command you need for whatever distribution you're on. I happen to be on Ubuntu, so I'm going to copy this command, paste that into my terminal, and we got it. So I'm going to type task. It wants me to create a configuration file. I'll say yes. And we're good to go. Cool. So let's add a task. Read Taskwarrior documentation. Okay, and we say task, and there it is. Very nice. Let's get started with Azure. So here I am on the Azure portal. I've created my account. I got my free special offer for $200 for the first 30 days. And I'm logged in on the portal here. And to get started, I'm going to head over to the Quick Start Center. We're going to create our server here. Let me get out of the way here. Now, I don't know how long it'll be before this whole website gets changed, but here's what I did. I went to Projects and Guides, and I picked Create a Virtual Machine. Whoa, didn't mean to click it yet. So this is just straight up everything except for actually maintaining the physical hardware. So you just get a Linux machine to connect to. So we'll click Start, and we're going to do a Linux box. Okay, so you're going to have a subscription. It might require you to make a new one. It's okay to make a new one. And then you have something called resource groups. I'm going to put everything under the same resource group, but basically this is like where you can put your different deployments into folders. You can just think of it as a folder for your virtual machine. So if you have a bunch of related virtual machines, you can put them into a collection. So nothing too complicated here. You can make as many as you want as well. And you can set policies and permissions. We need to give this a name, so I'm going to call mine MPC Task Demo. And select the region that works best for you. I'm going to go with this West 3 because I am on the West Coast. Availability zone, so this gives you data resiliency, so if there's an outage at one data center, your server won't go down. We don't need this feature since we're sort of here testing out the technology and learning, so I'm just going to turn that off. It actually saves on cost as well. Security type, I'm going to leave that standard. Select your image. I'll go with the 20.04. And I'm just going to go back and check my settings. Sometimes when those errors pop up, it changes some of my settings. Everything looks okay though. x64 is fine. The spot discount we don't want. This is if you're doing batch jobs. It's not quite fit for us. And I'm going to go with the absolute cheapest option here. And this really is the absolute cheapest option, the B1LS at the time of recording this. And we are going to go with the SSH public key. I'll show you how to use that in a minute. We're going to create a user. I'll go with my cgrp. We're going to generate a new key pair. I'm going to do cgrp and then the box name. cgrp MPC task demo. And we'll allow SSH for now. We'll talk more about this later. And let's go to disks. We don't need premium. As a matter of fact, I'm using a hard disk drive, the absolute cheapest option. Okay, it wants us to hit the premium, but we won't do that. We can delete our disk with the virtual machine. That's checked. Key management, platform key, we'll just leave that alone. And we're good to go. Let's go to networking. I'm going to create a new virtual network for you. I already have one created because this is my second box. And I left everything, I'm going to leave everything default. I'm going to create a new public IP for us, which we need. Network interface card, network security group basic. Public inbound ports, allow selected ports. So we're going to allow port 22 to come in. And no load balancer. Let's go next. Management. I didn't enable the auto shutdown, but you can enable that if you like. Let's go to monitoring. Everything's good. Advanced. I didn't select any extensions. Everything's good. We're going to set this up once we get inside. Next. We don't need tags. Let's go next. Here is our resulting box here. Go ahead and click create. And we do want to download this private key. I'm just going to put it in my downloads folder for now. And well, I'll stick it in this. Go. And we'll come back when this is done. Okay, deployment successful. Let's go to resource. Okay, I just refreshed the page and that went away. Okay, so we do want to configure a DNS name. This will be important later on, so let's go ahead and do that now. And I'm just going to name it the same as the box. So npc tasks demo. We'll go ahead and save that. So our host name is going to be npc-taskdemo.westus3.cloudapp.azure.com. We're all done here. Let's go back to the virtual machine. And we'll refresh. And that got updated. So we're all set to get connected to the box. Let's go ahead and get connected. Click on SSH. And we should be seeing this fail. Oh, wait, never mind. It is successful. So we're all set there. I'll show you how to change this later in this demo. Open a client of your choice, Windows Subsystem for Linux. I think I will. But before I do that, I do need to actually move my key into my Windows Subsystem for Linux box. Go into Home. Where's Home? There it is. Kirk. And paste. Oops. Okay. So we've got this nice key right here. I'm going to go ahead and take a, I guess maybe I won't. We'll just leave it right there. Let's head back over to Azure. And they would like it to be put into a folder like this. I'm just going to leave it in the home directory. That's fine. And we need the path to it. So what I'm going to do is I'll copy this command. I'll paste it in here. And I'll just backspace out private key path, and I'll just say ccirc tab, and it auto types my whole key right there. I'll hit enter. I'll say yes. Not accessible by others. Okay. Take a look here. Oh, they want you to run this command. My mistake. Let's go ahead and change our permission bits for that file under .ssh, ccirc, enter, and now we should be able to run this command. Perfect. And so if I scroll up here, it says welcome to Ubuntu 20.04 LTS, and it's giving me some system information. And we can see down here, I type clear. We're now in npc task-demo. And we can go ahead and update this system. But just like that, we're up and running with our own Linux server. Pretty easy to do. Go ahead and run the upgrade as well. Okay, and we are now all set to begin the server configuration for Taskwarrior. Okay, let's get started with setting up the server. I'm going to get out of the way here. So this guide here, I am working out of, well, you can find it on the Taskwarrior documentation. Right under here, under server setup, it brings you to these sort of click around flow panels. But if you don't like these panels and you have to use the arrow keys to move around, if you look up their, on the URL here, it has their GothenburgBitFactory. Look up their GitHub and you can find their Taskserver repository. And if you scroll down under setup, they have the PDF version, which has the exact same content inside that. But nonetheless, I'm going to work with these sort of slidey panel windows here because it looks cool. So preparation, back up your data. I'm going to skip this. We can skip the warning. Choose a machine, we did that. Port, we did that. We'll come back to users and groups, and we'll come back to firewall. Go to the next page. Installation. Install from a package. We need these dependencies. So if we scroll down, we're going to be using Ubuntu, and they give you these commands here, but some of these don't actually fix all of the dependencies that are required, and some of these don't work, like utils didn't work for me. So luckily, I have a one-shot command. I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste that in. You can get this in the description of the video, and you can paste this in yourself if you want. And so I already have all of these installed. So we're just going to keep moving on here. But yeah, go ahead and get that installed, and then you can move forward with the next step. Okay, so everything below here is for Windows and Mac OS. We're not going to be installing from a tarball. Instead, we're going to install from a Git repository. And they give you this command here. I'm actually going to run this one by actually typing it out myself. So don't copy and paste this. What we're instead going to do is we're going to go to their Taskserver repository. I'll click this green button that says code. I will click this little copy button here. I can zoom in to make this a little bit easier to see. I'll click this little copy button here and head over to our server. I'll type clear, and I'm just in this home directory here. I'm going to type git clone and then --recurse. If I hit tab a couple times, it'll give me some options. We want recurse with an E, hit tab, and it'll autocomplete. Then we're going to paste, and we'll hit enter. And what that just did is that created this Taskserver folder, but inside this Taskserver folder somewhere it is pointing to another library under libshared, under source libshared. And so by doing this recurse submodules, this actually gave us the libshared as well. If you just copy and paste this command, this didn't work for me. I actually had to type it in like this, and that worked for me. So once you have that, we're going to, let's look at the next instructions. It says to use the stable. In my opinion, if we look, they have 1.2. Well, and then later in the instructions, they tell you you can list out the branches, and then they tell you to use 1.2 because it's a patch branch. So when I did this, I did 1.2, so let's continue using 1.2. So they're asking you to make sure that your submodule is good to go. I'm not going to issue these commands. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And I will run this cmake command. I'll copy this, head over to our terminal. Oh, first we need to go inside the folder. So Taskserver, I'll hit clear. We'll paste in that command for cmake-dc make build type release here in this folder, dot, that's what that means, space dot. We'll hit enter. And the build files have been created. Everything is looking good. So if we do an ls, now we have this nice make file that was created. And the only thing we need to do next is type make. So we'll type make. We will let this build. Okay, that is all done. That did not take long at all. Let's take a look at our next instructions. We'll go down. Oh, and they're saying we're going to refer to this as the source directory. So that's where the source code is. We're not going to run the tests, not interested. Not going to interpret the results. We're going to do this sudo make install. This will actually install it. And then they want us to verify our installation by typing the command taskd. So we'll go ahead and type that command. And we can see taskd is now working. So this is looking really good. Taskd, and it is working. So we can do taskd-v to get the version, and we're on 1.2. So this is looking great. Let's go to the next page here, and we're going to move on to server setup. We're going to power through this. So just a quick note, we're going to come back and address this when we get to the step of the user. They want you to log on as your user that you're going to use for the daemon started task. And I'm just not going to do that. We're going to skip this. We'll come back to it later and we'll fix it up later. Data location. So I am going to run these commands. I am going to run this export. Did not copy and paste it. Okay. Oh, and this is creating the var/taskd directory. And then they would like us to init our directory. Okay, so we'll make that directory, and then we're not able to init because it's not writable. And so if we do an ls -al on var/ we'll just do var/ or /var. We can see taskd is owned by root, and root has read, write, execute. Everybody in the root group, or the group that is in the same group as root, can get read and execute, and the world can get read and execute. So what I am going to do is I am going to change the owner of that folder to me, and then we're going to have to change that again one time. We're going to have to change that again later on. So sudo chown /ckirk, and we're going to make ckirk the owner of var/taskd. Enter. So now we own it, and I'll hit clear, and now we can do taskd init, and it is happy. It successfully initialized it. Okay, so one thing it's saying is we recommend you copy PKI from the source dir to the data directory. So we can do that easy enough. We are already in our source directory, and if I do an ls, we have the PKI directory here. So let's do a cp-r PKI, and we're going to send that to var/taskd in there. So hit enter, and then let's do an ls on /var/taskd, and now we have PKI inside that folder. Okay, keys and certificates. This is the trickiest part of this entire tutorial for the server setup, so we need to be careful proceeding from here. So there's some scripts. These scripts are stored inside the PKI directory. So let's head on over to, let's leave the source directory. We'll go to var taskd/PKI. And we want to edit this vars file. And before we edit this vars file, we actually need to set up this VM to have a host name that's going to be matchy-matchy across everything. You can read through all this if you want, but basically they're saying you need to have everything matchy-matchy saying this. And we don't want specifically this text, we want what is true for our system. So in order to figure this out, we need to head over to our Azure portal, and let me zoom in, make that easier to read. And earlier in this tutorial, we set up DNS names. So this is what we're going to set as our host name, and we're going to set this as our certificate authority, everything. Everything will be using this name. Let's copy this to the clipboard. And let's head over here, and let's start by editing vars. So I just did vi space vars, and we can see we have some sample data in here. I'll keep those two unchanged. Organization, you can make up any name for your organization. I'm going to do mpc-demo, MPC for metaphysics computing, of course. For CN, we're going to remove localhost, and we'll paste in our DNS name, DNS name. And just for fun, I'll change country to USA. I'm going to change state to Nevada. And then locality, I'm going to change to Las Vegas. So I hit, so I hit the I key to insert, so I can start typing in here. And I can backspace. When I'm all done typing, I'll hit escape. Sometimes I hit escape a couple times just because I like to. And then hold down, you're going to write a colon. You can see down here on the left here, I have a colon. We're going to do W for write to the file, and then Q to quit the editor. So I'll hit enter, and we've just written to var. So if I do a cat on vars, we can see that is updated correctly. But there's a problem. If I go back to the instructions here, it's saying if you issue the hostname-f command, they all need to be matchy-matchy, and we are not matching what we thought we were matching. And then additionally, if I do a cat on /etc/hostname, we're not matchy-matchy. So we need to edit /etc/hostname. Oh, I forgot VI on my command here. Okay. And we're going to do $, I key, right click to, that's not our DNS name. Copy that to the clipboard. Right click to paste, escape, colon, WQ. You can see down here I'm typing that. Hit enter, and we're good. Except if I type hostname-f, it didn't change. And so what this means is we actually need to log out. So now I'm back on my Kirk PC. I'm no longer on that server. I'm going to head over to Azure. I'm going to click restart, and I'll say yes. We're going to come back when this is done. Okay, we're back, and it says we have rebooted, so let's see if we can get back in there. And we're in. Perfect. Now if I do a host name -f, perfect. Everything is looking great. Let's get back. Let's do a test, and we'll echo our $task variable. Our $task variable is gone. So let's bring that back. I'm going to go to the left here. Where did we set that up? There it is. Export. This variable is not, the system variable is not important to me, but apparently this Taskwarrior server actually really does care about that system variable. So we just brought it back. Let's also change our working directory into that taskd folder. Now we're in here, and let's go into PKI. And if we do cat vars, we're looking good. So everything is looking great. Let's pick up where we left off. Okay, assumptions. Yep, all that is good. Common name. You can read this if you like. So they just want us to get into that PKI folder and do a /generate. So let's go ahead and do that. And we can see we got all these executable scripts in here, and we have our vars and we have our readme. We'll do a /generate. A bunch of stuff pops up on our screen. If we do an ls, now we have all of these certificates and keys. Excellent. Okay, so let's go through and issue. So they want us to copy all of these .pem files into our server folder, and they all end with .pem. And if we do an ls, we see that all the ones that we want end with .pem. And so what would be an easier command to issue is cp splat.pem $taskdData. So let's go ahead and do that. cp splat.pem $task tab to autocomplete, enter. And now if we go back one directory, so now we're in our taskdData folder. We do an ls. We have our API key, our CA certain key, and our server. Let's double check API CA server. We're missing our client key. So let's go back into PKI. This has happened to me when I did this on my own time. I'm not sure why. Let's just do a / on client. Oh, sorry, generate client. /generate.client. I don't know why that didn't get executed. So we'll run that. And now I'll clear and I'll do an ls. And now we have the client key generated as well. And we actually didn't need to copy over the API key, but that's okay. So let me do that cp wildcard command again. Hit enter. Let's go back one, ls. And now we have our client as well. So this is looking good. And I'm almost skeptical if we even really need that, but let's just keep going. The focus of this is to get you started as quickly as possible with a task server. Okay, so we do need to issue all of these commands. I'm going to have them in the description. So if you just want to copy and paste all of them, you can, but let me go through and paste these in one at a time. Whoops, I pasted that one twice. Backspace that, paste. Okay, so we got all of those. And you can read this explanation if you like. Let's go to the right for the next page. Other configuration. Go into the folder, and we're going to issue these commands. So we're in that folder. and we're going to issue these commands. Oh, sorry. So this last command actually, just to be safe and consistent, when I did this on my own, I used 0.0.0.0. They're supposed to be equivalent, but I'm just going to replicate exactly what I did on my own in this video. So I used this, and that's what finally got it to work. So now we can issue this command and see our configuration. Our certificates are looking good. Log file is ready. Server is looking good. Everything's looking okay. Let's go to the right. And we can now start the server. I'm not going to issue this command. This will start it as a daemon process, or a daemon process. And it does require that the task data variable is set. Let's go down now. A daemon server is typically how you would want to run Taskserver, but there are many times when you need to run the server attached to a terminal. These two commands are identical. By omitting daemon option, the server remains attached to the terminal. You can stop the server by entering Control-C. So let's attach it to our terminal, and let's just verify that this thing can even run. So one helpful command that I have to check if there's anything binded to this port is by issuing this command. Command is in the description. I'll issue that. Okay, so it's not running. And our log file, our log file was created. So let's take a look at our log file. Oh, so it looks like it started up, but it didn't start interactively like I thought it would. But it's looking like it's okay. Let's try running it with that daemon option on there. And if I issue this command, we should see, okay, so it is binded to a port. So we can see we're on TCP. Any IP address on this port, we're listening. We're listening and we're ready to take action. This is the taskd server running. So we're listening on that port. Things are looking good. That port isn't open on our firewall. We're going to have to take care of that in a moment. So we can start the server. This is good. So let's go ahead and kill this PID, this process ID. Let's go ahead and kill that. 9.6. And if we look, it's gone. It's no longer listening on that port. And if I do a cat on the taskd log, we can see it started up and then it just sort of disappeared. Okay, so we can execute it. Let's move on. There's a debug mode. We're not going to be working with that right now. So we need to create an appropriate user and group to run the daemon with the user and group. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and create our group and our user. So let me hit clear. We're going to do sudo group add, and we're going to do taskdGroup, and then we're going to do sudo user add. And then -r, this specifies that the user is a system user, and this is typically used for daemons and other system processes. We're going to do a -s, which specifies what shell we're going to be using when we log on. But in this case, we're going to do bin/false, and this specifies that the user should not be allowed to log on to the system, and this is typical for daemons. And then we're going to say -g for group. We're going to say taskdGroup, and then we're going to give this guy a username, so taskd user. Okay, so that is created. So then we're going to give this new user ownership of the directories, so -al, of /var. So taskd is owned by cgrp. We're going to change that right now. We're going to do sudo chown. We're going to set the user to taskd-user. We're going to set the group to taskdGroup using tab for autocomplete. We're going to set that to be the case for var/taskd. Enter. And now when I do an ls-al on the /var folder, we see that the user and the group has changed. Very good. So that's just for starters. If all goes well, we're going to see it complain that it needs more access to other things, but this will be sufficient for now. So the taskd service, this is going to be located under our home directory in that Taskserver source folder under scripts and then under systemd. If we look inside there, there is this taskd service, and that's what we're looking at here. So let's go ahead and do a VI on that taskd service. We need to make some modifications to this. So user, we definitely need to change user. This is going to be taskd. I'm going to use the I key for insert. User, group, var. We're not inside lib. This is our working directory. Private tmp true. We can leave all this how it is. We can leave. User bin. So this is wrong. This is actually going to be in local/bin, taskd server. And then over here, server-data var, this is wrong. It should be like that. And I believe this is all the changes we need to make here. So I'm going to hit escape, hit :WQ for write and quit. And then what we're going to do is we are going to check our instructions. They want us to copy this taskd service into etc/systemd/system. So let's go ahead and do that. Oops. Forgot we didn't change our working directory. So I want to write a ~/taskserver, tab for autocomplete, scripts, tab for autocomplete, systemd, tab for autocomplete. And that's our file path to the taskd service we just modified. And we're setting it to /etc/systemd/system. Permission denied, but we can get anything we want with sudo. And that worked. Let's issue this next command here. Oops, they want authentication, but we're just going to issue it with sudo. And that worked. And then we're going to start the service. Oops, they want permission. We'll do sudo. And let's check the status. Failed. Okay, so this is a really good sign that it failed. If we go to the right, error. Configuration file cannot be read. Insufficient permissions or insufficient privileges. So the way we're going to fix this is we're just going to give it the permissions it needs, one file at a time. So it's trying to read. I'm in our /var/taskd folder. I'm going to do a /al, or sorry, ls-al. And config is owned by cgrp, and it's in the cgrp group. We need to basically work our magic from earlier. So I'm pushing the up arrow to bring back commands. We're going to change the ownership of this file, the config file, to our taskd user and our taskd group. I'll hit enter. And we'll go ahead and do a sudo. Let's bring back the command. So push the up arrow. We're going to do a chmod 755. 7. Nobody else should be reading this config. I'll do read and execute. Really, we need 744. We don't even really need execute for... Well, I'm not going to get too into it right now. We'll do 744. That should be fine. We'll do ls-al and config. Oh, it turned into an executable. All right, I don't want to do 744. I want to do... We don't want the execute bit, so let's go 644. ls-al. And config is read write, and then everybody else can read, but no one else can write, and it's owned by taskd user. Okay, so let's issue this server status command again, systemctl status, and it's still stuck, but that's because we need to basically issue the start command again. Oops, keep forgetting about the sudo. And let's look at the status. Oops. So I'm issuing that status command. Show me the status of our service. And it failed again. And this time it needs permission for the taskd.log file. So if I do -al, you can start to see how we're just slowly working through this process here. The taskd log file, if you're in the cgrp, if you are cgrp, you get read write. If you're in the cgrp group, you get read write. If you're anybody else in the world, you're just going to get read. So let's work our magic on taskd log. I'm just going to push the up arrow and bring it back. We can do the chmod, so taskd log. Okay. And then we need ownership as well. Ownership, taskd log. Okay, so now he's got that one. So we'll issue the start command. We need sudo. And then we're going to issue the status command. Okay, looks like loaded, inactive, dead. What did we run into this time? Okay, so I think it looks like we're running. Let's take a peek at the taskd log. And okay, so now it's running. And as far as the systemctl is confirmed, but when we look in the log, it's complaining again, and it's saying that the certificate is not readable. So we need to give our daemon user more access to our certificates, and specifically we want the ca.cert.pem. And I'm just going to take a shortcut here, and instead let's do this. So we're going to change the ownership of any of the .pems, so splat.pem in this folder, to our taskd user taskdGroup. If I do an ls-al, we can see that now taskd user's got all of our certificates, the config, everything's looking okay. I think he's going to want this guy as well, but we'll get to that when we get there. The other thing, what were the permission bits? The permission bits read write for whoever owns it, and then anybody else in the group can't get it. So let's leave it like that. I think that is pretty solid. That's a 400. So let's issue the start command, and then we'll do an ls. We're going to do a cat on the taskd log. And now this time, last time it said not readable. This time it doesn't say anything. CA certificate is fine. Key is fine. CRL is fine. Server starting. So this server is running. Very cool. So now that we feel pretty confident about this server running, we can issue this enable service command. And what this will do is it will start our server every time. Oops. didn't actually copy that. This will start up our taskd server every time the box gets rebooted. Oh, it looks like we want to have elevated privileges here. Okay. So now, just for fun, we failed certificate not readable, and now server starting, and everything's looking good. Let's issue our trusty port command. So clear paste. This is in the description. And we're listening on that port, and the user is taskd-user. And we're on that any IP address on that port we're listening. Now we can't get messages in yet because we need to configure our firewall. So let's go ahead and do that now, I suppose, because we need to do a restart anyways. Well, we don't have to do a restart, but we should do a restart just to see if it's working. So here we are on our virtual machine, NPC task demo, and we're going to go to networking. And if we scroll down, we have these inbound port rules. So I'm going to add an inbound port rule. Any source, any port from any source, going to any destination with port number, let's get our port number, 53589. We'll paste that in there. With any protocol, let's go with TCP protocol because that's what we're listening for. Allow, priority 310 is fine. And add. So that's going to create our firewall rule. This will open up that port for the public internet to reach out. So back over on overview, I'm going to also just restart the box. Oh, don't restart yet. Let's just go ahead and log out. And then we'll restart. Okay, now that we're restarted, let's take a look at our box. I'm going to log back in. And if I issue that status command, what is it? System ctl status of our taskd service active and running. And I'll hit Q to get out of that. If we issue our neat little port command, it's listening, and we just did a restart, so it survived the restart. Excellent. So let's take a look at our instructions and what we have coming up next. All right, let's get started with the client setup. We need to add an organization. We could do that with this command. I'm going to call mine live1. Occasionally, you might see this error message, and it's really cryptic on what it wants you to do. But all you need to do is simply issue the export command again that we saw earlier in the guide. So once you do that, the error goes away. Now, before we move on, I just want to show that there's a little bit of a problem. And that is that our daemon server cannot access orgs. They have no way to get to these files. And if we look inside orgs, that's where our live1 went. And if we put the -al on here, we could see there's no way that our daemon, taskd user daemon, can access this. So let's go ahead and fix that. To start out, I'm going to add myself to that group. And the way I'm going to do that is sudo add user cgrp, what's it called, taskdGroup. And now if I type groups cgrp, I'm in the taskd group. So that's a start. Now what I'm going to do is change the group access for this directory. We're going to do that using this command, -R for recursive. We're going to specify the group and then specify the directory and hit enter. And after I do that, we can see that the group is now attached to orgs, but the group access still is not available. They don't get read, they don't get write, they don't get execute. So let's fix that. We're going to do sudo chmod -R, and we'll do read, write, execute for the group level and the user level on orgs. After we do that, we see they have rewrite execute on orgs, and since it was recursive, they now have, whoops, I did not mean to paste. They now have read, write, execute on the folders inside. So this is really good. Now they can have access. Okay, that is definitely required to do. So let's add a user. I'm going to add a user to my organization called Live1. And I'm going to change the username to demo1. Okay, I'm just going to copy off this information. I'll open up Notepad and just sort of park it there for now. We will need that later. Okay, let's go into the PKI folder. We're going to do /generate client, and it will be the demo1 client. We're going to generate certificates for demo1. So here we have demo1 certificate ready to go. And they don't have Let's Encrypt working, and this hasn't been updated in 2 years, so I'm starting to suspect no one's going to do Let's Encrypt for this. If you're interested, leave a comment below, and I can look into it. Okay. We're going to need to download our certificates, and we need this key. We need to know our organization, and we need to know our username. We need to know our address and port. We got that. And we need our... We're ready to configure the client. So they want us to download our certificates and put it into our .task folder. Let's go ahead and do that now. I'm just going to make a note of our current working directory. And once again, make a note of demo1. So these are all the demo1 files we have in the PKI directory. Here's the directory. I'm going to log out. And then, so here I am in my folder here. If I do an ls-al, we have that .task folder. And actually, while I'm here, I was doing some testing earlier. Okay, so I have some stuff in here already for my .task. We could just ignore that though. So yours will be empty. I'm going to overwrite this CA cert. We're going to do all of this right now. Ooh. Okay. So we're going to bring back our SSH command. And instead of SSH, we're going to use SCP. We'll use the same certificate. And at the end of the address, we're going to type a /var/taskd/pki demo1 splat or asterisk. I'll hit space and type a period to download them right here. Actually, we will download them to .task. Like that. And all three of them just got downloaded. We did get demo1 template. I don't think we need that. The only thing we're missing is our new CA dot. What did they say we need? CA.cert. Splat. Okay, so if I do an ls-al on .task, we could see that demo1 is downloaded and CA cert is also updated with the same timestamp. So this is good. We've just finished this step. Let's run these configuration commands. Type clear, paste. I did not get it copied. Our username is demo1. Hit enter. Get the next one. Yes. And let's get this one. And we don't need to change it. Yes. Okay. We need to specify a host name. So we ended up using that port number, but our host name we can actually get from Azure. It's our DNS name. Copy that, paste, enter, yes. And now for our credentials. We'll paste the command, but we need to basically retype all of this. So I made demo1 as the organization. I have the user. And I have a key. Enter. Yes. We're now ready to sync. So let's test it out. I have, notice that I'm no longer on the server. I'm on my local Kirk PC. And I have Taskwarrior installed. I can paste in this task sync init command. We'll say yes. And we get this sync failed command, so we need to do some investigation here to find out what happened. It could be that we didn't set the permissions all the way. So let's get logged back in. So they can get into orgs. While we're here, let's take a look at our taskd log. And we could see that our daemon put a log message out saying that taskd/orgs/demo1 does not exist. Let's see if that's true. Oh, I guess I made it a live one. Oh, I switched them around. Okay, that's my mistake. Let's log out. I have identified my mistake. It is important to go on here and check that log message like I just did to see what it's complaining about, and that's going to help you find your mistakes, because inevitably your first time setup, your first time run, it probably is going to complain about something. I'll show you a couple more useful things that I found for actually troubleshooting, but I just showed you one of them, which was get on the server and go look at the log messages and then verify if what the log messages are saying is true, such as there is no demo1 folder in your organizations. And in this case, it's exactly true. And I have these guys switched around. So I've logged out of the server. I'm going to bring back this one. And what we need is we need to say our organization, and then we need to say our user. Yes. Okay, let's try it again. Okay. So let's take another look. I'll get back on the server. Let's take a look at the log file. So I'll do cat taskd log. Okay, so this time it's saying that inside these directories, our GUID is not executable. So let's see if that's true. I'm going to do an ls-al on orgs. Oh, let me clear my screen. Orgs, demo, oops, live, demo, oh, it's users, demo. Oh, there is no demo, it's just right here. And yes, we see that the Damien user has no group access to this, and it needs execute. So with that said, let's just go ahead and issue our sudo change group recursively on orgs. Oh, we need to specify the group on orgs. And let's see if that fixed it. Okay, so now they have group access, but the group access is zeroed out. So we need to change the access bits. And they want execute, so I'll give them bit number 1. And the world gets nothing. And I need to put the recursive option on there. So capital dash R. Let's see if that fixed it. So now they have execute. So we'll find out if this is really all our daemon really needs to be able to authenticate us. So let's log out. Let's try it again. Yes. Okay, so it must have complained about something else this time. Let's get back in there. I'm suspecting that it didn't just want execute. It probably wants more access than we gave it. Clear. Okay, let's look at the log file. That's where it's going to report to us what the problem is. It's not readable. Okay, so it wants more access, but it's only going to check the bits one at a time, I guess. Okay. So I wish it would tell me exactly the access that it wants. So it wants read and execute, so we'll give it number 5. Yes. And let's log out. And let's try again. Yes. Okay, it must want something else. I'm guessing it wants write as well. The reason I'm going through this is because I really want to demonstrate to you how you could troubleshoot any issues that may arise when you try to do your initial sync. So we'll check the log again, and now it's saying it's not writable. Wow, very helpful. Okay, that's great. So we'll issue a 7.7 on orgs. And we'll log out. And we'll sync, and we'll say yes. And sync successful. Very cool. So, the steps that I've just gone over, I mean, pretty much from here, you're off to the races, and from here on out, you could just type task sync, and you'll sync to your Azure-based server. One thing that I stressed earlier that I just want to stress again is that, just checking to see if there's anything else. Okay. The host name is very important. Whoops, I did not mean to paste that. And if you run into any problems, you could get, let's see. This GitHub issue was important for me for finding problems. Let's zoom in. So just sort of reading through what this guy tried on his troubleshooting. He said, I tried the following, and he really checks everything to see where his problem might be. And he also is the one who gave me this ability to check if the port is showing up and if the taskd is listening. So that's very helpful. And then further down, someone else said something helpful for finding problems. This one. So if you issue this command, you'll need to get it installed first. But if you issue this command and replace the port that you see here with your DNS name, the IP with the DNS name, and then replace the port number with your port number, you will be able to see what the server is requesting in terms of certificates. So you could see the issuer, and you could see, like, let's go ahead and try this right now so I can show you what it looks like. So it says no hostname specified, but we have that right there. And so it prints out all this stuff, and you're like, what is this stuff? Well, first of all, it converted your DNS name into your public IP name. And so let's verify if that public IP name is correct. Yes, this matches. So I'll copy this. (20, 125, 142, 42). So they're the same. That's good. It's saying we didn't send it a certificate. The server requested a certificate. It told us the type. We got one list of certificates that they want. And look at this. Organization, MPC demo, CN, MPC tasks demo. This is our DNS name. Issuer, USA. State, Nevada. Locality, Las Vegas. This is all the things we filled out back over on our PKI folder on the vars. Let's see, all clear. Just want to show you what I'm talking about. So at the very start, it said you need to fill this out with your stuff, and we did that. So if I do a cat on vars, the data that this GNU TLS CLI is giving us from the server is exactly what we specified here. And so we need this to be matchy-matchy on everything, including the etc/hostname. And also if I type hostname -f, these all have to match. Otherwise you'll get a TLS handshake failed or something like that. Anyways, I hope this helps. I hope you are excited to create your first server. I plan on doing more server videos in the future. And just to give you an idea of how much this is currently costing me, I could go over to cost management. And this does cost money. And it takes a minute to load. But ultimately, let's see, I started the server on like a Saturday, and then by Wednesday, it had charged me $1.25. And yeah, ultimately, this is pretty inexpensive. And if you're a developer looking to write programs that connect to the internet, I think it's totally worth it to pay $1 or whatever it costs to get the absolute bare minimum, bare bones server on Azure. I do plan on doing more videos in the future using this server to do other cool stuff, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, leave a comment below if you have any questions. I'll do my best to help you out. But again, I showed you the debugging techniques that I used, and I really had to fiddle around with this thing for a while before I could figure out how to actually get this server thing working. But yeah, and then also be sure to check out the documentation for Taskwarrior to learn how to track your tasks. It's pretty established, it's pretty old, but it's helping me stay organized, and so I hope that this is an interesting project for you to take a look at. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.